Hi, I'm Coach Theo Dean, head women's basketball coach here at Truman State University. My hometown, Chicago, Illinois. My alma mater is Truman State University for both my bachelor's and master's degrees. I got my bachelor's in visual communications in 2012 and my master's in leadership and sports management in 2014. I got inspired into coaching mainly by a gentleman by the name of Brian Austin, who's the head women's basketball coach at Southwestern Community College in Creston, Iowa. He's someone that I really gravitated to my freshman year, honestly. He was coaching the women's club basketball team here at Truman State, and he allowed me to come and help him out, be a practice player, assistant coach, pretty much anything that I wanted to invest in, he allowed me to do that. Going into my junior year, he was working for the women's basketball team here under head coach Michael Smith, and he knew I was looking for a job. And he said, "Hey, do you need a work study or scholarship job?" I said, "Yeah, I do." He said, "How about I get you a manager job with women's basketball?" And I jumped on that quickly. And from there, it got me to where I am now. I was a manager for 2 years, my junior and senior year of my bachelor's degree. And then I went to grad school here and was a student assistant under Coach Smith for his last year here. And I was also the GA for Coach Amy Egan that 2013-14 year when we won the JLVC championship and went to the NCAA tournament. From there, I went to coach boys basketball. I was an assistant coach for boys basketball at Lansing High School under head coach Rod Briggs, who is now at Truman High School in Kansas City. I knew Rod because our current assistant, Amy Briggs, was one of our players on that 2013-14 team. She was our actually starting point guard. So her dad is Rod Briggs. He allowed me to come in and help him out with boys basketball for 2 years as an assistant. And then in 2016, after my 2 years at Lansing were over, 2016, the assistant job opened up here back at Truman. I was able to come in and step right into that role for 3 years. And then I just spent my first year as head coach here during the 2019-2020 season at Truman State University. So I've had a very unconventional route to get into coaching and especially to get into the head coaching world. But a lot of things with coaching and a lot of things just in life is about who you know. And I knew the right people. I knew Brian, who got me the initial role, and was able to stay on with Amy Egan as she stepped in 2013-14. Knew Coach Rod Briggs because his daughter was here on the team for 2 years. And then I was able to come back to Truman just based on my prior relationship that I had with Amy Egan and some of the players that were still here as a part of that basketball team. My favorite memory as being a coach, I have a couple actually. First is just winning that conference championship in 2013-14. A lot of the players that were on that team, especially the seniors, I started as a manager their freshman year. So I had seen the 4 years of the hard work that they put in on and off the court, in the classroom, everywhere, on the track, doing campus runs for 4 years. And it finally culminated in a championship, culminated in a trip to the NCAA tournament, which at that point hadn't happened since 1999. And then also I have two more. One is as an assistant would have been our first round of the GLVC tournament in the 2018-19 year when we went into the fourth quarter against Maryville. We were down 14. I want to say within a minute of the fourth quarter, we were down 16. And we were able to battle back, take it to overtime, and then win in overtime, which was a game that was it was back and forth. We couldn't stop Maryville at all those first 3 quarters, and we were able to just stay solid and hone into the things that we had done all year, and we were able to come out with that victory and pretty much solidify our spot in the NCAA tournament with that win. And then my last favorite moment or favorite memory as a coach came this year as my first year as head coach against Maryville again here at home, actually. We won on a buzzer beater, and that was a very special moment for me is because it just showed the relentlessness, the perseverance that our players have, which we actually got to see a lot during this year. In that game specifically, to end that game and really starting the third quarter and in that last play to end the game, we had 3 players in different spots that they had ever been in. One player who was running a play they had never run before. And to break it down, sideline out of bounds play was a play that we hadn't practiced, we hadn't put in this year. The only people who knew that play were returners. That was it. But we hadn't planned on ever running it this year, and it was just a situation where I thought it was the best play to run. And we ran it for people that we normally don't run it for. So we had Hannah Bellinger, who'd never seen that play before. The first time she saw it was the only time she saw it, which is when I drew it up during the timeout. She came up and set a screen for Maddie Ray. Maddie Ray typically hadn't been in that position, but she knew it. But when I speak position-wise, Maddie Ray was technically playing our 3, which she has only pretty much played a 4 or a 5 here. But in that game, we needed her to play the 3. We needed to go big. And she knew that position. I drew that up for her in that spot, even though she was our 3 on the court. Kata Jasikas was technically in the 3 spot, but she was our 4, which that was the first game here at Truman she had ever been the 4 in her 3 years here. So she came out to the perimeter. She had hit, I want to say, 3 threes in the second half or somewhere around there. So I knew they would have to guard her in that position. And then you had Allison Thomas. That was normal for her to do what she did in that position. She was our 5. She had only been a 5 here. And then Sloan Tata, she wasn't necessarily out of position, but in the last couple of years, she was the one setting the screen. But for her, her first 2 years, she had been point guard, so she knew exactly where that pass was going to be. And, why that's a great moment for me is because during the timeout, we draw it up. We're like, hey, this is what we're going to do. We're ready to go. I mean, if you rewatch the game, it doesn't take long for us to break the huddle. We're ready. Then the referees come over and say, hey, we're still reviewing the clock. The timeout hasn't started yet. So we're just sitting there like anxious, just ready. We're ready for this. And I had a player ask me, say, hey, do you want us to foul if we miss the layup? And I looked all of them in their faces. I said, we won't miss the layup. We're winning the game on this shot. That's one thing I believe as a coach, and it goes into a lesson that sticks out to me the most, is that you have to show your players that you believe in them. They're going to go out with the same energy that you give them. So if you go into a game or go into a moment nervous or not confident, they're going to play with a nervous attitude. They're going to go out with a lack of confidence. So one thing that's just really important, and we talk about it a lot, is you have to win every moment. You have to win warm-ups. We joke about that. Win warm-ups, win the captain's meeting. And it just shows that you are just breeding confidence in everything that you do. And in that moment, it was very imperative. We were down 1, 2 seconds left, and I had to let them know that whether it's 2 seconds left, 2 minutes left, 20 minutes left, or a full game, I believe that we're going to win. They went out there, ran the play to perfection. Sloan put the pass on the money. Maddie Ray made a great contested left-handed layup, and it was a great victory. Great for us. Couple things I would be doing if I wasn't coaching. I'd probably be using my degree a little bit more. I use it a lot now with a lot of things, or pretty much everything that we put up on social media. I probably create 90% or so of it, 95% of it, depending on the year, depending on what other coaches we have on staff and their design background. I've had a marketing assistant for the last 3 years that's helped me out a ton in regards to videos and different things that I just don't have time for. But if I wasn't coaching, I could see myself for sure using my graphic design, visual communications degree full-time somewhere in an office, working 40 hours, 9 to 5, and just cranking out graphics. And it's something that I did while I was in college. I worked every summer for Blue Cross Blue Shield of Illinois, and as I went back every summer, they gave me more and more graphic opportunities and responsibilities, even to the point of creating one of the logos that they used for one of their programs they offer to their brokers. I could also see myself being a skills development coach, one thing that I really enjoy and really love. And it was also something that helped me get this assistant spot, just that experience that I had working with female athletes and developing their game, developing their minds. And, every player that I worked with in Kansas City, for the most part, went on to play college basketball. So I just had that background and had that expertise, and I made a lot of connections in that world, which has helped me out a ton in the recruiting world on the Kansas City side, in that Kansas City area. Um, going from, you go from assistant to interim head coach to full-time head coach. There's a lot that you have to do in regards to adjustments. There's a lot to manage. And for me, the biggest thing to manage was just my time. I had a lot more responsibilities, meetings I had to go to, different videos I had to watch for certifications, and then you talk about the practice planning and the game planning, things that I had to be in charge of instead of just being a part of it. So there's a lot more. And then you think about, which a lot of people don't know, I technically didn't have a full-time assistant. So it was me and my graduate assistant, Bree Daniels, that cranked out everything. We literally went from the 2018-19 year where we had 4 coaches on staff to the 2019-2020 year where we had 2 coaches on staff and only 1 full-time. So we cranked out a lot and together, and a lot we just kind of separated as well. It's like, hey, I'm just going to handle this, you're just going to handle that, and we're just going to live with it and, put our all into those separate things. And it was a lot of sleepless nights, a lot of, 4, 5, 6 hour nights, just because we didn't have the amount of people to crank some things out, and we had to do a lot on our own. But I was very lucky to have Bree here as my graduate assistant because we've known each other for 12 years. We've known each other since we were freshmen here at Truman. And when I was a manager here in the 2010 year, she was a junior here on the women's basketball team. So I knew her work ethic. I knew what she did in the classroom. I knew that she understood time management, and she was just a great person, a great coach to have on staff, someone that our girls really looked up to. But technically, going from assistant to interim to head, outside of the time management piece, I had a lot of people around the community or media ask me, like, hey, like, what do you need to do to get the head job? I want you to get it. And honestly, I didn't think, while I was interim, I didn't think about what do I need to do to get the head job. My goal was just to go win games, keep recruiting, treat my players with respect, and help them grow into great young ladies and graduate. That was my goal. If that resulted in me being the full-time head coach, then great. If it didn't, then I did my best. So I wasn't doing anything with the added pressure of trying to get a certain title. I just went out as if I already was the head coach. My players treated me as if I already was, and so did my recruits. So from that piece and from that standpoint, it was a very easy transition for me, especially because I recruited everybody here except for Sloan, and she loves when I bring that up. I recruited everybody that was here during that 2019-2020 year outside of Sloan, but Sloan was the person that I coached the longest. So in regards to relationships and stepping into a higher role, I knew everyone. So it wasn't a situation like a lot of head coaches step into where they know no one that's on roster. I didn't have that hurdle at all. So for me, it was a very easy transition. Of course, I knew everybody in the athletic department, being a student here before and also being a part of the coaching staff for the prior 3 years. So my transition was pretty easy, and I couldn't have asked for a better team to coach for my first year. Thank you.